we're really excited to have you. I feel like today there's a lot of sessions around just really giving some practical advice to students, to younger
Yeah,
people. And I think that's what you're here to do as well, aren't you?
yeah, exactly.
Well, why don't we start off by introducing a little bit about who you are, and
Yeah, sure.
because you have lots of experience about with working with students, graduates, younger people.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess I'll start with a bit of my career background because, and I guess my educational background because that's what led me to this point. So I actually went to university and I studied international development and politics. And my like dream was to work for the UN and to kind of do like humanitarian work. And I graduated and went to uni around the 2008 financial crash. And so it was really, really hard to find a job. And because I couldn't find a job, I had to volunteer. I had a retail job whilst I was at university. I kept that on the weekends. And then I found somewhere, because I couldn't find a job, I found somewhere to volunteer. Because everybody kept on saying, you need experience, you need experience. So I worked for a charity and they were doing events and training. So they were doing like environmental training. Wasn't really one of my interests, but I said, right, I'm just in a space where I want to learn. Did that, and they really liked me. And one of the things that my parents taught me is like, whatever you're doing, whether you're working for free or working and you're getting paid, you give it 100%. So I did give that job 100%. And they liked me so much and appreciated the work that they found money to keep me. So I worked there for a year, and then after I got a year's worth of experience, I started working at a youth employment charity, helping graduates who couldn't get jobs. So it was kind of, ironic, really. I couldn't find a job, and then I started working for a charity helping other people. So I was helping people who were like myself. And that basically just snowballed, and I've kind of been working in the sector ever since. And I've worked across a plethora of different organizations. So I've worked for a youth employment charity, supporting graduates into work. I've worked for an apprenticeship provider, going into schools and talking to people about apprenticeships. I've worked for a boot camp provider, helping people to get onto like boot camps. And now I'm also working for an early talent consultancy. And what we basically do is we hire graduates, we train them, and then we send them to work for different clients doing various different roles. So I'm currently a delivery manager, and my day to day, in simple terms, is I work with graduates. I help them with their personal development whilst they're working for our clients, and I give them coaching, mentoring, and basically help them to get to where they want to be in their careers. And that's me.
Amazing. Wow. Really interesting story and background and journey. Um, and so I feel like so many people are applying for jobs or starting out and not getting anywhere.
Yeah.
What do you think is the biggest like reason or mistake that people are doing? Why aren't they moving to the next application process or
I think a lot of people actually limit themselves by not doing the research into what's out there. There's so much out there. And that's in terms of the careers available, the supports available, but also just, I guess, things that are available to young people, right? So, for example, everybody's talking about tech right now, or they're talking about AI, but I don't think people go into detail and they really do in-depth research on the roles available in those spaces. So, for example, people are always talking about, I want to become a software engineer and I want to work for a really big tech company. But I would argue that all companies are tech companies at the moment, because a lot of companies are looking for software developers or people that have technical skills. So why not look in fashion? Why not look in, I don't know, the film industry? Why not look in construction? There are so many different sectors, or even things like insurance or like the public sector. I think people really need to do their research on what's out there and not kind of like limit themselves
yeah.
to what they can do.
There's a little bit of rustling. I don't know what that is on your
Oh, it
on
might
your
be my. Is that all
oh
right?
yeah, what's that? Is that a brace?
No, I think it's just my microphone.
Oh,
Is that okay?
yeah,
Yeah,
perfect.
I'll hold it. Yeah,
I think it was maybe rubbing against
yeah.
your shirt or something.
Let me
No,
move this. Yeah,
perfect. That was great. Um, no, I completely agree. Yeah, you don't. I think it's everyone talks about skills now and not
yeah.
about jobs or roles. So you're no longer, being like, I want to be this, and
No,
it's more around I have these skills and what
exactly.
Okay, so
Yes.
you really apply yourself to, so actually that's great because you're opening up yourselves to more opportunity.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that we're moving away from the traditional kind of I have one career, and we're moving to portfolio careers where people are doing loads of different things, which I think is exciting, right? You don't kind of want to be bogged down doing the same thing. You can say, right, I worked in, I don't know, the fashion industry for 2 years, and then I moved over to a tech company, and then I moved into education because it really is about skills-based hiring.
Mm.
And I think that that's actually opened up a lot more opportunity than created limitations.
So if you were starting out again,
Yep.
what would you be doing to say if you didn't know what you wanted to do,
Yep.
how do you actually start figuring out what your skills are, or do you, yeah, what would you be doing? What's your
I think I'd be asking myself, what are the things that come naturally to me? What am I good at? So for example, are you the one that's always planning the birthdays? Are you the one that people come to for advice? Are you the one that's always helping people out with a technical problem or problem solving? So start with what you have and who you are, right? So for example, I am the one in my friendship group that people come to for advice. I'm also the one that, organizes all like the birthdays and the holidays. And I thought, actually, I'm quite good at that. And in all of my roles, there's always been kind of like an element of project planning or event management, or now I'm doing like coaching and mentoring. So I think lean into the things that you're naturally good at, and then see whether or not there are roles that kind of naturally align to that. I think sometimes people are reading things, watching things, and saying, like, these are the careers that people can go into. And that's fine. I think it's good to be open-minded, but also start with what you have. Secondly, how do you tease that out, and how do you test the waters? Volunteering is a great way to do that. If you can't find a role, contact people. There is a hidden job market. So there are the roles that are available that you see online, but actually just email people. And I think a lot of people aren't kind of willing to be bold and just say, hey, I'm really interested in your company. I'd love to learn more about what you do. I've got 16 hours a week free. Can I just come in and, shadow somebody, or can I, come and learn the ropes? I think you have to be bold and just try things. And a lot of people, if you listen to people's career stories, a lot of people have fallen into what they're doing. And so some of it is, you kind of just have to test the waters a bit.
No, I love that advice. I think with skills, sometimes, I mean, I don't think I could name 10 skills. It's also
Mm,
just the ones that like
yeah.
communication or problem solving. But actually there's probably a wheel of skills
Yes.
that maybe you could go there first to be like, what are all the different skills
Yeah,
and how could I
absolutely.
name the things that I'm good at?
Yeah.
Um, and so there's also lots of different routes in,
Yes.
apprenticeships, volunteering, boot camps, graduate.
Mm,
Um, I guess what are the different routes in, and again, how should someone be approaching all of those different routes? Because you could go to uni, you could go do an apprenticeship. Like, how are you
yeah.
meant to know which one is right?
Oh, I think, okay, let me talk about what the differences are between them, right? So, apprenticeships are training programs where you're learning, you're earning, and you're working at the same time. So, it's a blend of training as well as, you actually have a full 9 to 5 job, but the employer pays for your training. So, you could do a degree apprenticeship where, it's maybe 3 years, you are working towards a degree, your employer covers the cost of that degree, but you also earn a salary. So that's really for people who want maybe hands-on experience. Again, there are pros and cons to all of these, right? So if you go via the apprenticeship route, you miss out on that kind of like university experience. You might not be with people who are your own age or like your peers, but you start earning money, you don't have any university debt if you're taking a student loan, and then you start building that experience right away. And then you've got boot camps. So boot camps are shorter training courses. They could be 8 weeks, 12 weeks, could be 24 weeks. Really depends on the boot camp that you're taking, they're not paid. Sometimes you have to pay for them, although there are loads of free government boot camps that you can do at the moment if you're not doing any other training. And that's really for people who kind of want like a quick entry into something. So you could do a boot camp in software engineering or data analytics. There are so many available, but that's for people who are kind of self-starters. You have to get up every morning, you join, you know, an online boot camp, or you go in person, and then you learn about something relatively quickly, and then you go and find a role, or, you know, kind of by yourself. Then obviously you've got university. University is more theory. So you do a 3 or 4 year degree. It's more theoretical. That you might have a 1 year placement, a work placement, but it's not always guaranteed, and also depends on the course that you're doing. And for me anyway, I would argue that you don't get that experience. You don't get work experience. You know, university teaches you it teaches you the theory of the thing, but it doesn't necessarily teach you how to navigate office politics, or how to send a really good email, or how to manage stakeholders. These are all things that you learn in the work environment. So how do you know that, you know, I want to do an apprenticeship, or I want to do university? I think again, it depends on your personality and also how you learn. Are you someone who learns best in a classroom environment with other people? You're really into the theory of the thing, and you want to master the theory of the thing before you work? Or are you somebody who's kind of like, I can do a bit of both? I want to do the theory, I want to work, but I also want to make some money while I'm doing it. So I think it's really about scrutinizing who you are, what's really important to you, but also understanding how you learn, because ultimately with all the 3 routes that we've just talked about, there is an element of learning to it. So it's about what works for you.
Yeah. Well, that was an amazing explanation, because I think sometimes people don't know what the differences are. And you're so right. Like, it really depends on the individual. It depends on whether you're, you know, can't wait to just get into the workplace, or actually that might not be right for you.
Exactly.
And there is no right or wrong answer. I think that's
No.
also important, because from the employer's point of view,
Yeah.
what are employers looking for? Like, yeah,
Yeah,
they're looking
sure.
for
I think
degrees, are they?
I think employers are looking for people who can hit the ground running and do the job. You know, they're looking for the skills. So as much as the theory is important, they're also looking for people who are, you know, are flexible, are curious as well. Curiosity is a huge thing that I hear employers saying that they're looking for. People who take initiative, people who can problem solve. So regardless of which route you decide to take, those things are also really important, because when you're in the workplace, they're looking for people who are adding value and not necessarily waiting for an answer, but they want people who can get stuck in. So I think it's, as well as, you know, learning the theory or learning the skill, I think personality is really important. And I think people often overlook that. You know, we talk so much about AI and, you know, tech skills, and, you know, but human skills are still going to be really important, because it's all about building those relationships. So that's super key.
Sorry, that was my bell.
Oh, no.
Very loud. Hopefully they leave the package of whatever it is outside. And because I think sometimes we, you know, on the side of trying to get the job,
Yeah.
sorry, or helping someone, I think sometimes it's really hard to put your shoes in the employer's shoes.
Mm, mm.
Could you maybe just explain a bit more about, like, from an employer's point of view, why aren't they hiring everyone? You know, why aren't they taking on more people?
I think because the world is changing rapidly, you know, we're talking about, we're at the helm of the fourth industrial revolution, technologies really at the forefront of what companies are thinking about. It's where they're really investing all of their financial resources. So they're trying to change their infrastructure and invest as much money into the tools, right? So I think right now, particularly for early careers, it's a really difficult place to be, because employers are focusing on people who have the skills to do things, do them well, and do them quickly. And so that's where the challenge is. But actually, what the flip side of that is that, you know, employers now are seeing that they're having an aging population. So what happens to all of those people when they all decide to retire at the same time? And so as much as kind of, we're seeing that youth unemployment rates are, at the highest that they've been for a really long time, I think that's going to change. I think 2026 onwards, I think we are going to see a lot more employers reverting back to kind of the focus on early career hiring, because they need a younger population to come through. So I think the thing that people can be doing now to prepare themselves for that is just upskill as much as possible, learn about kind of, the different AI platforms, and also what's next, right? People are talking about AI now, but actually what's next? It's kind of like quantum computing, biotechnology. You want to make sure that you're there and you at least have a basic understanding of those things before the world gets there. So read up on that, show that you and demonstrate that you understand what's coming next. You're at the forefront of everything that's happening with technology. And that's how you kind of prepare for that.
No, absolutely. And you work with Grace at the moment, the company
Yes.
that you're working at. So you kind of take on graduates and then I guess hire them out to other clients.
Yep.
What is a success story that you have of someone and their journey into work?
Yeah. Oh gosh. I was working with someone who has an engineering background, and he was interviewing for a law firm, so completely different. And it was for a technical role. And there were two people going for the role. One of them had a really technical background. So on paper, you think, right, the person with the technical role is definitely going to get the job. But actually, what happened was he got the job, and they acknowledged that he actually didn't have the skills to do the job. But what they really liked about him was he had energy, he had fire in his belly, he had the hunger and the desire to learn. And people really liked him and connected with him. And again, this goes back to this idea that it's not necessarily all about the skills, but people have to feel a connection with you. You have to be personable. You have to know how to talk to people, because ultimately we spend more time with our colleagues than we do our friends and family. And a lot of employers are looking for that culture fit. So he was really surprised that he got that role. But they said, because we liked him so much, we are willing to invest in that training to get him to where he needs to be. Because, the hiring manager said, we can teach anybody that technical skill, but you can't teach somebody to have a personality. So in everything that you do, make sure that, yes, okay, you have an understanding of how to do the job. You have, the technical ability, but also you have to have the soft skills, you have to have the personality, you have to be able to connect with people. And I don't think that's going to go away for a really long time.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and I can see that, and that's the same with the team that we have now at Eric. Like a lot of the people kind of got in touch with us outside of the application process and just showed their passion for what we do.
Yeah.
And you remember those people.
Mm.
So I think it's a good trick to remember that, like,
Absolutely.
if you're struggling with an interview question and you're like, oh no, I don't have the skills, just kind
Yeah.
of go the other way and
Yeah.
say, but I'm just really passionate about your company and XYZ. And I do
Exactly.
far.
Yes.
Um, and what other, I guess, advice would you have for maybe like confidence? Because I think sometimes, again, not about skills, not about if you have a degree or not, but I just think that generation has gone through COVID, a lot of
Mm.
them, and haven't really been around that many people or been in an office environment. Do you have any advice around building confidence?
You have to do things that scare you. There is a fantastic book that I've read. I think everybody can read it. It's called The Year of Yes by Shonda Rhimes. Absolutely fantastic book. And it basically talks about doing things that scare you and saying yes to the things that terrify you. And that's the only way to build confidence for me, anyway. You do things that you're like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. You have to go through the uncomfortability of things. And I think you have to push yourself and just call it out. Say, I'm really nervous about this. I'm really I'm not sure if this is going to work for me, but you just have to feel the fear and do it anyway. And maybe think of things that might put you in an uncomfortable situation and go for them. Like, for example, if you are really scared of public speaking, put yourself in the position where you're going to have to speak in public. Do things like drama classes, or like is it Toastmaster classes, where you're going to have to say a speech in front of people, because public speaking, talking to people, it's all going to help. Like, for example, I did performing arts as a GCSE. It didn't make any sense. I was doing history, French, and English literature, and then I added performing arts to it. Everybody thought I was mad, but to this day, I always tell people that that was the best thing that I could have done, doing that as a GCSE, because it taught me how to speak to people confidently, speak to a large audience. And while, I didn't go into like musical theatre or anything like that, but it was really good for knowing how to even how to, add dramatic pauses in when you're doing a presentation. Everything is Nothing is wasted. And so, like, try to put yourself in uncomfortable situations. That's what I would say. And also, in terms of, I guess, staying motivated when you're looking for a role or a new opportunity, the best advice that I got was to treat your job search like a job. So when I was hardcore looking for a role, I used to block out my day 9 to 5 with an hour lunch break to prepare myself, firstly, for that kind of like going into work. But 9 to 5, I'd be applying for jobs every single day. But then I'd also give myself like fun. I'd actually schedule fun into my job seeking time and say, right, on Thursday I'm going to go see my friends, because otherwise you just start going loopy. But yeah, treat your job search like a job. Stay organized. I can't tell you how many times I've been interviewing people for a role. You call them and they say, who is this again? Make sure that you know the roles that you've applied for. Keep a spreadsheet, very simple. The date you applied, the company, the role, the deadline, what was the outcome. That's it. But, you have to stay on top of it, treat it like a job. And honestly, the more applications you send out, the more chance you've got of things coming back.
Yeah. I love that. Get a spreadsheet going. Yeah, someone told me that you should do acting classes, even if you don't want to be an actor.
Yes.
Yeah. That's such a good thing. And there's so many of those kind of classes around. We have a question in the chat. So
Yep.
someone says, currently at uni, would love to get a job in the industry that they're working in. Do you have any advice on how to secure a relevant job whilst also balancing uni? The majority of jobs I see are 5 days a week, which is overlapping with uni. Do I hold back until I've completed my course?
Oh, there are many ways that you can do that. So you could ask if you could volunteer after your or around your university course. But actually, it's something that a lot of people don't know that you can do. And I did this. In my second year, I interrupted my studies for a year, and I took a year out whilst I was in uni, and I went to go and volunteer and live in India for a while. And it was completely unorthodox. Everybody thought that I was completely mad, but I'm really glad that I took that year out, because I hadn't taken the gap year before, and I got to uni and I was kind of like, no, this is not working for me. I need to take a year out whilst I was at uni. So I emailed my lecturers, I emailed, the student office, and I said, can I interrupt my studies for a year? Now, if you want to get experience, that is an option. Or if a placement year is not an option for your course, you can actually interrupt your studies for a year. You can put it on pause, say, right, I just want to take a year out, get some work experience, and then come back and complete your studies. So that's an option.
I'd be interested to know what you're saying, the industry that you're studying. It'd be interesting to know what industry that is, because I think it could be different, depending on what the industry is. There could be like different structures.
Yeah.
No, that is a tough one, like balancing getting experience, getting work, and getting uni, because also you don't want to, I guess, get to the end of uni and be like, oh, now
I didn't have experience. Exactly.
I don't have any experience. So yeah, I don't know, Harvey, if you did want to add in what your industry is, that might help with the answer. But we are nearly, I mean, we are out of time already. But what is your, I guess, yeah, best piece of advice right now? I mean, you've given loads of nuggets of advice, but is there anything else that you can offer for someone
Yeah.
applying for
Sure.
a role right now?
In terms of careers, or just applying for a role, I would say think about what excites you. why you care about it and what you want to learn. I think a lot of people often have the end in mind, but actually just start with who you are and what you have. What excites me? What do I care about? And what do I want to learn? And if you keep thinking about that, you'll always grow in your career, but you'll always find the role that's right for you. You don't have to have the full picture. Just start with where you're at and take it from there. And then the doors will keep opening, hopefully.
Oh, amazing. Thank you so much. Well, Harvey's just quickly put, he's studying
Oh,
creative industry studying at BIM, but he has a real interest in social media marketing. He's also a
oh,
music producer at heart. I would say,
oh,
Harvey, just some of the, because I've been speaking to multiple people this week and last week. It sounds like you're studying. So yes, you won't be able to get a full-time job, as well as studying. But if you're interested in social media marketing, you can be doing that yourself with friends or like,
yeah.
is there a smaller artist and that like a musician, say, who might need some help with social media marketing that
Mm,
you can offer your services to? So actually, you're creating your own work experience there. You're getting, evidence that you've done social media marketing. You might actually be able to do that freelance on the side.
mm,
And I think then once you finish uni, you'll have experience to then get a job because you've got all of these like case studies portfolio of social media clients that, again, don't have to be big companies, but they could just be the local shop or like, whoever it is, a friend who's trying to, make it music. Um, that would be my advice. But Navasha.
yeah, I agree. Oh my gosh, that's a simple one. Completely agree. You can be doing that right now. That's weekends, evenings. Find, I don't know, 5 micro influencers who currently aren't, don't have a management, or you're like, hey, I love your page. I think you could improve it by doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. Work with them. Um, just shoot your shot and see what happens. But you can definitely do that alongside university. And actually, I would say that that's probably even the better thing to do rather than working for somebody else. You can demonstrate that actually I'm a self-starter, and I went out and I got these clients, or I worked on these projects by myself, and that would probably even look better on your CV.
100%. Oh, Harvey says thank you.
No worries.
Well, time is up. Thank you so much again. Hope
No
everyone
worries.
really enjoyed that. And we will see you soon, Navasha, I'm sure, for another session because we'd love to have you back.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for having me, and all the best to everyone as you start your careers.
Yay, thank you.